So hey there, guys. Uh, I'm not happy. So before we get into this video, I'm gonna just air this out here. I was recording this video about maybe on the 28th and 29th. I was just about ready to hit the Q button this morning and unload this new information. And just as I'm about to, new information comes out on Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. God damn it. So, I'm gonna just throw these things out here first because it's gonna be a topic for another video I'm gonna talk about very shortly. Future Connected is going to have a brand new combat system. Now, what that entails, I do not know, but I wouldn't be surprised if half the shit I talk about in this video is going to be included in this brand new combat system and the alterations to the combat. Another thing, I bring up about midway through this video, I ask, oh, they should refine the way that you receive your quests in game. And you know what? The Japanese Twitter account just came out, and they're doing exactly that. They're doing exactly what I had asked in the video. I was like halfway through, like, just saying, you know what, I'm not going to upload this video, but then I realized it'd be stupid. I put a lot of effort into it, and there's a lot more material than just that one point that I make. So, if any of you guys are confused as to why I'm bringing up, hey, they should change the way that you receive quests and how you organize them and the user interface for them, keep in mind that I recorded this like literally hours before they announced this new information. And this has been just my life story when it comes to making this video in particular. It's like every time I'm about to upload this video, they announce something that makes the video less relevant. And I'm like, well, there that goes. So I'm trying to keep it all together. Hope you guys are too. Stay safe. You know, stay healthy. Stay inside, especially during this quarantine. And I will talk to you guys again after this video with another video talking about Future Connected and what new story options they're going to have with it and what new gameplay and combat systems they might be offering too. So keep that one in mind. Sorry about this weird intro. Let's get into the video. Hello there, people of the internet. It's your boy, back with another Xenoblade Definitive Edition video. It's been a little while, a lot of things still going on in the real world, but at the same time, I was planning on making this video a while ago. I wanted to make a What Can Xenoblade Definitive Improve Part 2, since they, showed off the new trailers and we got more information, but like every time I was like, alright, this video is ready to go, Nintendo would drop some new information that would be like, well, gotta alter the script and redo the video. Because they either talk about something I'm going to bring up, or they remove or include something that I bring up in the video in general. So just to counteract that, I'm going to also make this a little bit of a news update for any of y'all who haven't been keeping up in the last couple weeks with information that they've been kind of trickling out every day. So first, let's talk about some of the new features they've talked about with a Definitive Edition. First, it will not feature any of the content included in the new 3DS port of Xenoblade Chronicles. This pretty much means that there will be no collection of gallery or character models and music. This also likely means that there will not be any amiibo functionality, but we don't really know if they're going to do that. I doubt they will at this point. Barely any games nowadays really have amiibo functionality, especially ones like Xenoblade. We also got news from Nintendo's official Twitter account that Xenoblade Definitive Edition will include over 90 remastered music tracks. That just makes me so happy. And improved visuals and gameplay. So, Nintendo of Europe also stated that the Future Connected epilogue will take place a year after the story. That's a nice addition as well. On top of this, there will also be an option to switch between new and old soundtracks. So for you purists out there, you got something to return to if you maybe don't like the remixes, but I like the remixes so far. I've liked all of the redubs of the music. They showed off the Colony 9, they showed off Gower Plain. It all just sounds so great. On top of this, the Japanese website updated with a number of new screenshots of different locales in the game, and they all look beautiful. I'm a particular fan of these new shots of the Bionis interior and of Satoral Marsh. We also got new screenshots of all of the characters, and they all look fantastic. I will stand the new Charla until the day I die. Finally, one thing I wanted to bring up in regards to my last video is the screenshot of Alvis with his new necklace. Yes, this likely means that he's an Aegis. As a rather known vocal critic of Xenoblade 2, I feel like I should address the elephant in the room of potential retcons to the story. No, I don't think this will impact the plot of the original Xenoblade much at all, and I'm not super opposed to any changes they make to the world of Xenoblade. My issues with Xenoblade 2 never really stemmed from the concepts and ideas that they presented in it. My main issue with that game came from how it told its story and presented its ideas. As long as these new inclusions and story additions in Future Connected don't impact the storytelling of the base game and aren't just kind of lazily thrown in to make connections that aren't really there, then I'll be fine with whatever Monolith Soft could potentially offer. With that said, let's talk about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition and what it can offer and improve in its experience. First, let's take a minute to pour one out and accept the fact that they have not fixed the mouth flaps. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very likely that we will never see Shulk finish that sandwich that Fiora gave him, and it's a tragedy. Update: they actually released the sandwich footage on Twitter, and they did not fix it. R.I.P. that sandwich. You were a trooper. You waited 10 years. Still nothing. They did in fact fix the user interface and have given us clear directions for combat, and that goes into some new changes I hope they make to both the gameplay and combat system. First, I want them to hopefully make it easier to track quests, to note who gave them, and to give more detail to the progress of them. The best way to describe what I feel about this is like, when I've been doing a playthrough of Xenoblade Chronicles here on YouTube, which I'm going to get back into very, very soon. It's been like a month since I've uploaded a video, I know. Something I'm noticing is that it can be a little hard to tell who gave me what missions and what I need to do next for each of them and where I need to go for them, especially when you start piling them up, which is, it forces you to play the game a specific way where you take one mission at a time, go back and forth, and you don't really just gather all the missions at once, and that makes it a little tedious, considering that, you know, a lot of missions are in the same general area and you kind of just have to do different things in that same area. So it would be nice to have a more organized system for tracking quests in the game. Like, for example, maybe for a monster hunting quest, you give just a detailed location for the monsters that you have to hunt, or maybe it's the time of day that they might spawn. You know, it would make it easier to go and fight them versus just being told, okay, you have to fight these monsters, but where do they reside? What do I do with them? You know, like, they'll give you like a general location, kind of, but they won't really give you anything on like a map or a mini map depicting where the spawns for that enemy might be. Let's just skip that animation of gem crafting entirely. It's kind of tedious to have to sit through it when you're grinding for gems and you're just, you know, seeing Shulk and Melia just go here, to you, to you, just back and forth over and over again. It could be a little mind-numbing, and it's kind of unnecessary because you really don't have an impact over what they do. So just skipping it overall would probably be the most beneficial thing, at least to me. I don't know. On top of this, many of you mentioned this before, and I agree. There should be voiced heart-to-hearts, though at this point, I don't think they'll be able to get all the original voice talent to come back and reprise their roles for it. Next, once you fill out a selection in the Collectopedia, you should be automatically just given the rewards with a notification on screen instead of having to jump into the menu and get the items. This lessens confusion, and it lets people who wouldn't otherwise know understand, hey, I get these rewards for going and collecting, these random things out in the field and stamping them inside the Collectopedia. It's kind of something you never really get a tutorial or an explanation for, and it can cause a lot of confusion, especially it did with me in my first playthrough, where I went into the Collectopedia and I was like, oh, what's this? And I just started hitting buttons and I'm like, oh, that's what that does. You get, cool items and nice little rewards for collecting just the random blue stuff you find lying on the ground. I wish I had known that earlier, that way I could fill this out in more precise fashion. Next, rebuilding Colony 6. Please make it clear where you need to go to find specific materials for the rebuilding process, or just how to obtain them in general. Much like the change to locating quest materials, giving us at least a general location of where to look will help at the very least. I mean, I think that's probably one of many people's gripes with rebuilding Colony 6, is that it can be really hard to find the necessary and required materials to improve certain sections of the city. Another thing I kind of have an issue with in the combat specifically. Once you're comfortable with a team, you'll just stick with them and you'll rarely try something new. This has led to many people I know who've played Xenoblade avoiding getting a character affinity up and by extension not seeing the heart-to-hearts. I would love for there to be more incentives for experimentation in combat, whether it's increased rewards, experience, or just characters with more useful roles. A good example, I brought this up in the video before, but there's like no reason to ever leave Shulk out of your party because he is like the most combat central character. He always has a way to deal with Telethia. He always has a way to deal with Mechon. Specifically in like the first 75% of the game, he always has a way to deal with Mechon. So it would be a nice change to maybe just, give everyone enchant whenever Shulk's out of the party. Just give it to him for a good minute. Or, maybe give us an item that can give us the ability for enchant. Or, just something that makes it so that we have a reason to experiment with the party that we roll with. That way, people can get their affinities up and are able to kind of experience more of the game without feeling like they have to grind through certain things or know what they're doing next. Next, they should give us notifications for time quests before we enter a major story event. A lot of quests in Xenoblade are locked behind story progression, so once you progress the story to a certain point, you won't be able to go back and do side quests that, you haven't fully completed beforehand. This is kind of a problem. I mean, they'll let you know that you have to beat this in a certain amount of time, but they don't really let you know, oh, this is when that time is up. So it would be nice to know how much time you have left to complete a mission in terms of the relevance to the plot. Like, okay, like before you go do the boss fight with Zord, you should be given a little notification that says, hey, you still have this side quest to do in the refugee camp. You should do that before you, head into this boss fight, because otherwise it will disappear forever. Just something as a little notification to people so they can keep their minds open to it. They can explore more of the game without having to kind of feel like they missed out on something because they made some stupid mistake. Next, I'd love to see the difficulty curve when it comes to levels be drastically altered. A lot of times where enemies would only be a few levels higher than me, they just outright kick my ass. And a lot of agility focused builds on characters, with that you basically always have to be the same level as the enemy at all times. It kind of makes a lot of combat encounters a little difficult, so kind of just having more balanced enemy level scaling, maybe just have it dynamically scale with your party instead of having fixed levels for enemies in each of the areas, or just lessening the penalty for being 2 or 3 levels below a specific enemy in combat. This next one's a little small, but please just remove fall damage. It really doesn't make sense to even have it at this point. Sure, early on, if you take a big fall and maybe you fall into an enemy, it's a little funny to mess up and be like, oh, well, I shouldn't have fallen down there because I just lost like half of my health and I'm going to this fight losing half of my health. But it could just be a little bit annoying. I understand that it's realistic to fall from a huge height and take damage, but like, it's not necessary. You don't really need it. A lot of good JRPGs kind of just avoid it for a good reason. And it's because it doesn't really do anything, it doesn't really add much to the story, or to the gameplay, or to anything really. And this next one I think would be paramount to completing a lot of these side quests. Give us the ability to control the weather, as well as, you know, we already have the ability to alter the time of day. A lot of enemies are very dependent on specific weather conditions, and it's so annoying to have to sit there and reload all the time just to get a specific type of weather for an enemy to show up. Which is why I think, you know, just either removing that requirement or giving us the ability to change it. I mean, we already have the ability to change the time of day, so, you know, they don't want us to sit through and, you know, wait for certain enemies to spawn at a specific time of day. It just seems a little pointless and tedious to have to constantly sit around and wait for a specific, you know, rainy or foggy type weather to show up. Now, what can they add that would blow my mind and make me super happy? Well, they put in the epilogue, which was something that I never thought they'd do in a million trillion years, but I brought it up in the last part of this, and they did it anyway, so I mean, anything can happen at this point. I mean, fuck it. They also added in purely cosmetic armor sets, separate from the ones that alter a character's stats, which is a godsend. That way you could just have fashion choice as an option in the game, instead of just, you know, pure stat build armor sets. Now, with that said, the most mind-blowing thing that I think I would love to see them add to Xenoblade Definitive Edition at this point is an additional playable character. I would love to see someone like Alvis, or perhaps even an entirely new character, become playable in either the epilogue or through some alterations in the story. And I guess the latter is just my wish overall, in all honesty. I wish that they would just be more liberal with the changes they make to the base game. I would love for them to shake some things up and alter my perceptions a bit, either by adding new things or changing stuff where it might feel natural. I know a lot of people are opposed to them changing just anything in the game, which I'm not entirely in agreement with. I think that, you know, if they want to change something and it feels right to change that thing, even if it comes to the story and the storytelling of the game, well, they have every right to. That's because, you know, I feel like they have a lot of things they could improve on with the storytelling and gameplay and everything in the game. So I would love to see them maybe just take some creative freedom. You know, I recently played through Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that game has completely changed my perception of what a remake could be, in terms of what they can do to change the story, to change the characters, to change the combat. And I can fully understand them maybe taking some creative decision to make some sort of alteration, like they did on the level of Alvis with his necklace. You know, they added that in, and it's just a little cosmetic change to him, but it does alter the narrative of the series overall drastically. And maybe just to see them do that, but in the context of the game's plot by itself instead of the world of Xenoblade overall, I think would be something that would be refreshing to see. It would throw me for a loop for sure, and it would make my experience with the game feel a lot more fresh to see maybe story events play out a little differently than how I remember them being. Thank you guys for sticking around for this video. I know I'm kind of rambling at this one. I didn't really have a script going into this, and it kind of just felt natural to put this out now. We are 1 month away from Xenoblade Definitive Edition. 1 month! 1 month. Oh, I'm so excited. This might be the last time you see me make a video like this until then. So I'm just gonna plug the fact that I will be playing the ever loving hell out of this game when it drops on May 29th. I'm probably gonna stream it on Twitch or on my YouTube channel here. Um, and I'll just dump the VOD of me playing through the game and my first reactions and everything all on the channel here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do when the game first comes out though. I mean, I might play through Future Connected first, but I think that's dependent on whether or not I finish this Let's Play I have of the game on my YouTube channel beforehand or not. If I finish it beforehand, I'll probably just go straight to Future Connected. But I really want to just play Xenoblade again, like, which I know it's weird that I have this, you know, partially started Let's Play. I'm saying I want to play it again, but I really want to play it with this brand new, fresh perspective. So, you know, hopefully you guys will be there, and you know, maybe I'll see you again soon for another Xenoblade update if they announce something that blows my mind. But at this point, I don't think they will. So I will see you guys later.